There- Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and we also have,
Vanilla's ready to rock.
well, we're sad to say, or we happy to say, that Jupiter's Legacy has been canceled. The rankings have come in, and it's not big enough to sustain going on to doing another series. Now, a lot of reports from the Hollywood Reporter and other places, somehow, because it's not a big buzz like The Boys or anything else, or I guess what's the name? The Boys has a bigger buzz than the Old Guard, but they're trying to go through comparing like The Handmaid's Tale and what's the other thing? The Shadow and Bone. But Shadow and Bone had, I think, a smaller start, but then went to 1 billion. And that's the thing that people have to remember, that yes, it would be great if these things all were big hits and if it's initially that, but you want to build and make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But you know, this property, I don't know if this was the lead property to start out with, but in my mind, maybe like, was it MPH might be the one to go for, something that's really ground level. They'll be in the lane of sort of like Wanted, because Wanted kind of worked for film pretty easily. And maybe not even saying, maybe this is Jupiter's Legacy is the thing, but maybe it's a movie like The Old Guard. Maybe that was the answer, to test the waters, see what was going on. But then the superhero craze has been like, hey, you got to do a series, got to do a series. We lost Marvel, now we got Millar World. But in my mind, it's kind of, I mean, in my mind, it is a pastiche of the Justice League, this, that, and the other. And they're doing a body. I'm sorry, they're not overdoing. This isn't like it looks like you're looking at Frank Quitely's art and saying, wow, they didn't get it right or wrong. It's like Quitely art can be kind of weird from time to time. So it's not always the superheroics. I mean, the closest you can have a feel of him doing something where the superhero looks like the superhero is, All-Star Superman. Everyone else looks weird, and the same for the Batman, the Scottish adventure. So Batman looks like Batman, and everyone else doesn't look not as weird as some of his later stories. So ultimately, we can. I think this is what we get. I'm going to say that we can go back and forth, but yeah, this is what this is for, us to go back and forth on why it didn't work. And Cal, what do you say?
First things first. What is up with that picture? What is that line? Put on some trunks, man.
Don't make me answer the question of what the line is.
Answer the question, Petey.
No, I'm going to say,
want to know.
A lion. It's not a line. It's a lion in his pocket, and baby's ready to roll. That's it's a lion. So to stay away from the lion part. I'm not saying it. I'm not going to go down that vein at all. No way.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That wasn't a slip of the tongue, right? Go down that vein. Right?
Oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I mean
go down that vein.
The lane. They're going the lane. That's what I meant, the lane.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, man. Yeah. Trunks. That's all I can say. Yeah. I got to stop looking at it. Yeah.
I'm going to.
I actually got a chance to look. I hadn't read the Old Guard, not the Old Guard, Jupiter's Legacy before. So I watched the series, and then I got a chance to look at the comic. Comic is actually, that's actually an interesting story, but they changed some stuff with this whole thing, kept hammering this thing about the code and, really trying to, at the end of the day, we're supposed to come back for a second season of watching these ineffectual superheroes who don't have any particular code, and this guy, all the trophies, one of the guys is evil, and the kids don't know how to get it together, and all this stuff. This had been done like in 2014, 2015, cutting edge stuff in terms of superheroes. But you already got the boys out there,
yeah.
Okay, and the boys are just wild. Okay? The boys are like the evil superheroes, and they're doing the wild stuff. They already had one scene with some guy with the what is it? What was his superpower? He could elongate his member to strangle people. Some real nastiness like that. Okay. So we already got some wild stuff out of the boys, which means this one needed to bring something else to the this one needed to bring something else to the table. And the tweaks that they made just made the heroes look overall, at least in the modern point, ineffectual. They did have some good stuff. I thought that the origin that they were doing about how these guys actually get their powers, that was actually, I thought, some strong storytelling right there with the stock market crash, the guy thinking he's going crazy, not necessarily knowing what's the right thing to do, and then finally realizing that, okay, this is about not just us getting here, but us working together. And by working together, we're actually going to get these powers, and we're going to be deemed that, okay, we're the first group who actually gets here, who works together, and we get the powers, and then we're going to go and help the world. Okay, I thought that could have been the story right there, because there's not a lot of stories like that for superheroes right now, where they focus on the heroism. Instead, we get we get a younger group of heroes that they're dying left and right. Anytime they're left on their own, it becomes like, whoa, what kind of training did they have, or what's wrong with these particular people? So you got like a good start in terms of the viewership, and yes, I probably would have watched the second season to see if they could have improved on what they had done. But then I know how these things tend to go. If we get a second season, most of the time they say, oh, okay, so we got it right in the first season. So, we're going to double down on what we did in the first season, do a lot more of that. So it would have been a lot more of the code and more people dying and, more behind the scenes evil superheroes. So what can I say? If they had, I think if they had hewn it closer to what was going on in the comic, they might have had 3 successful seasons, as opposed to this debut, which ended on a cliffhanger for a series that was only 8 episodes long, had a whole bunch of questions that weren't answered. Just not very good form. Worst of all, I think they spent like something like 200 million on this, and they have a contract with Miller World for more stuff. So this isn't a very good, it's not a very good over for, Miller World. They could have done a better job storytelling.
Well, yeah, I pretty much, I definitely agree with everything that you're saying. The thing that I would add to it is that, well, I guess I already said it too, is that 2 million on what, the idea, the next thing is super crooks. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if doing anything close to Marvel and DC, because both the boys and that. But the boys, the interesting about the boys is that, yeah, you have the Justice League, but you have the main characters are these other guys. And maybe in my mind, had they start with that big fight, and even if they did the same stuff they did, instead of doing eating at the table, all the boring stuff, that sort of thing, is trying to act like this is heavy, heavier material than it is. And maybe the comic book was a little more interesting. It was kind of had the British sort of cynicism dealing with like real life stuff, like dealing with the idea that heroes don't kill. So I'm be cynical about that. Every line of dialogue. Cynicism, like I don't want to kill, even if other heroes die. I don't want to kill. Like that's totally insane. And then you go to the other side of trying to deal with the stock market crash, where these businessmen, usually the idealistic businessman, not in that period, because that's all post with the Industrial Revolution. Everyone is mechanizing their thing, and then everything goes to pot. So this idea that this guy was so altruistic and he wanted to help people out, and then the father, because he was so idealistic, put himself out just to do what keep the sons. There might be another story to it that I missed. I didn't finish the story, so you can tell me if I'm wrong there. But I was thinking that it was kind of another cynical take on stuff. I'm not saying get to the cool stuff, get to that big fight in the action, get to the thing. Oh, this guy died, and then we had the guy. This guy gets out of prison. Next thing you know, he shows up. That was interesting. Get to that stuff. Get to the kids coming into the fight and taking over. Get to it quicker, like, and move faster, shorter. And I think they need to think about this. But the problem is going into Super Crooks, cut the budget. They can cut the budget. They're going to be trying to stick to the mundane stuff. Is when it's like, you got to give them something now. or this Miller World thing will go the way of the Extreme Studios thing that Netflix was doing. Now the whole thing is in now it could be a dead property. Maybe they wanted to get it cheaper, but this is a tough thing for the whole Miller World. It looked like it looked like Mark Miller was on the top of the world, and now he's not sitting on the next Walking Dead. He's sitting on, will the next property work? Or is Netflix even interested in it being a success? Because they can bail out on this one, they could bail on Super Crooks. And that's the thing. If they did something like
he doesn't need to do that stuff though. That's the problem.
If
they go, he's got did you read Superior?
But that's still dealing with this sort of the Flash, wasn't the Captain Marvel stuff. You think that he should stay in that vein or doing another?
Miller stuff is all the stuff that guys are already doing. He's getting there late. So you already got Invincible, you already got The Boys. So it's not like, oh, okay, what would these guys look like if they were evil? They've already done that type of stuff. Go with the stuff that was actually a little bit more clever. Superior was actually, you can just you don't have to do 3 or 4 seasons of the whole stuff. Superior, you could do 1 season of it, or literally just make it a limited series, that type of stuff. But that was actually a clever story that works. And there aren't a lot of Captain Marvel analogs. It's like a Superman Captain Marvel analog at the end of the day. But there aren't a lot of them. And there's a lane to go right here that most of these guys are not going for. And this is like a classic superhero story. Most of these guys aren't doing that. The Marvel characters aren't even doing that right now. They're doing some other stuff. So go for that particular lane because it's wide open. The lane for the anti-heroes, that's filling up. And you're behind in that one. And the lane for the wild craziness, that's there as well. But the lane for classic superhero telling, that's still wide open. There's not a lot of that being done right there. Because that's really the lane you should get for superheroes like Superman, Batman, that type of stuff. And those characters have been controlled by Zack Snyder for such a long period of time that we're not going to see. We haven't seen that. So you could go fill that lane right now and definitely do those things. The trouble is that Miller World's characters tend to be the ones that are the anti-heroes, like you just said, with Wanted, Super Crooks, that type of stuff. But Superior, what was the other one he did? Huck?
Yeah, the ones you're talking about are the ones that are too close to stuff that's already, I can see from what your angle is. I'm sorry to cut you off. What are the positives? I'm thinking from the studio thing is like, what do you mean? We just saw Man of Steel and Shazam. Like, are we gonna do that? Are we gonna do that? What's it gonna get us? Nothing. And we do what's the name? They'll be like, we just saw that in Justice League. They well, this is gonna be even more touching than that. And it's like the studio's not gonna be like, you know what? There is some positives that we can do because it's a little more feel goody. It's like, no, they're gonna be like, well, what did Man of Steel do? What did Shazam do? It's not. Is it going to get us to where we want to go? What about we need a? It's like we should have done another Homelander, something even worse than that. We need to do that sort of thing. I'm thinking of how the studio is going to look at it and say, hey, we tried to have the idealistic one and it didn't kind of work. Like, no, you kind of wrote against them, but then it's like to kind of push it, pushing uphill to kind of say, hey, let's do these properties. That's why I was trying to do the Flash one, which would be like, hey, this might be, you can probably do some different things in the Flash TV show and see if it works. It won't probably kill you budgetarily. That's my opinion. But, I see your points on doing the thing that has something that's different than what we've seen as far as Zack Snyder.
Well, if you want to do, if their whole thing is, well, we want to do you got to do the Hollywood stuff. Is okay. This is Justice League meets Walking Dead, that type of nonsense.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, then really he should go back and do Wanted, because what they did in the film was nothing like what was going on in the comic. Because you can literally say this is this is Justice League. This is like the superheroes lose. Okay. The superheroes just lose, and we get to see that coming. Okay, we can do that one if you want to do that route. But other than that, you're gonna have to do like a Sylvester Stallone and like champion the cause of a good story. Say, no, this is a good story. This is what I'm gonna do. No, I'm not selling it off to anybody else because at this point you got to look at your properties. I mean, unless you're just in it for the money,
Mhm.
unless you're just in it for the money. But Miller, Miller has had the unique opportunity to really build on a bunch of different characters and a bunch of different stories, and bring them to. I mean, not necessarily like Marvel where it's one universe, but he was able to run those themes and those stories well before any of this stuff really took off. And it would be a shame if he's not able to get any of that up and running simply because he can't do the Hollywood pitch himself.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was always I'm looking at it right now to some of the other stuff is saying that let's see, like the Magic Order, which I don't know much about it, but it seems like something that could be, not break the bank. And I mean, Puck might be something that they could do that can get some cool stuff. I always think, but the hard part is looking at the space stuff that he has, like cosmonauts, Space Bandit, and what's the one that I wanted to see? Empress or Reborn. Those are seem to be the harder things to do because it doesn't seem like anyone's going too crazy about the outer space stuff outside of the Korean film. They kind of seem to be having a lot of fun doing the space truckers type of stuff, which works well on Netflix, but it doesn't seem to get that much buzz. So I mean, my opinion, like, what did you think of Starlight? Did you think Starlight would be something that would be the next thing?
Starlight?
Yeah, that thing he did was sort of like, I guess it's like a Buck Rogers type of
Oh, that? No.
I don't know much about it, but it's oh my goodness, so stuff I hadn't even heard of. Sharky the Bounty Hunter. Did you ever read this?
No. I read some of this stuff, and when he was doing the Authority, and I mean, a lot of this stuff I've read this stuff already. It's new for people who are into superheroes, but me, I already read this stuff. So this isn't like this isn't anything big or new for me. So it's not going to be something you can get me in with. But if the whole idea is if you're going to try to sell something, try to sell something that's not there.
Yeah, it's kind of this. Everything is of his is I mean, he was doing what, like, you look at it and say, oh, he's doing creator owned stuff, but everything is pastiche of something else. The Sharky thing looks like it's Lone Wolf and Cub in the West with the
He
alien
should,
kid.
he should do that. If it's Lone Wolf and Cub, he should do that because Lone Wolf and Cub, these guys decided that hey, we don't we don't want any money.
Then everyone's been using their sort of format, so but it's
Oh,
like
what's the who has used Lone Wolf and Cubs format to great ratings for 2 straight seasons?
the Mandalorian.
Yes. And then I'll ask people, you never read Lone Wolf and Cub? No, no. I was like, you read manga, right? Yeah, I read manga. I read Bleach and Naruto and Attack on Titan. You never read Lone Wolf and Cub? No. Did you watch The Mandalorian? Yeah, I loved it. That's Lone Wolf and Cub. It is? Lone Wolf and Cub has a Lone Wolf and Cub has a Yoda, a baby Yoda in it? Like, no, there's no baby Yoda in Lone Wolf and Cub.
Is it someone that's 50 years old but a baby? No, that's the thing when you have these pastiches. Like, if it's not the exact same thing, people are like, well, wait a second, that's not the same. Come on, trust me. That's the whole point of it is to kind of, go a little left, and that's where you can find your other part of the story. But the whole dynamic of the space baby carriage and, and the gunslinger.
Were they getting ready to do that with what character is this now? Usagi Yojimbo.
Okay, yeah.
So they're gonna have, once you have something like Usagi Yojimbo, that opens up even more because you've got the anthropomorphic animal, the samurai stuff in space. It's just some wild stuff at the end of the day. So now when you're coming over here and, well, should superheroes kill? They answered that already with Man of Steel. Okay, Man of Steel decided to kill the villain, and It didn't take. So why are you still asking this question? Okay. And if you're asking the question, you should have answered it within your first season.
Yeah, so I mean, it's weird. It's tough because I don't even know if he can get some of the other stuff. Like, well, no, I guess there's like I don't know if what I really would hate to see on the screen is Nemesis, that sort of thing. But that seems to be something that might be big for people. I don't know. It's like now, even now for me, like it looked like he was on the top of the world, ready to be the next Robert Kirkman, and now looks like he might have to get out of his get off of that vacation home and start writing some more pastiches of other characters. But he's a name, and he could probably take on. I mean, he did it to the best. I mean, he did was I don't know when his. You ever read his Marvel Knights Spider-Man?
No, thankfully not.
Well, this basically was just like it's what Quesada said. Don't you shouldn't do in villain of the month. It's just Spider-Man beating the hell out of all of his villain issue to issue, and so I think
what's wrong with that? Most of the guys eat that up.
That's what it was a big thing. He was like his thing was the get in, get out, do the don't stay on anything too long. Try to be like Watchmen or anything that was a hot mini. Stay on it for 2 seconds and then run off. And that's what that's kind of I guess what was it? I'm not sure how long. I guess he was on the Ultimates had a couple of series or a couple of runs. Maybe it was 12 issues, and then he had another portion of it. I can't remember. But yeah, it's he's like that thing of get in, get it out, and he's had some big success. Excuse me, with Kingsman, or was it the Secret? It was more wasn't the again? I guess it was that of the Secret Service.
Kingsman, that's what I don't understand because Kingsman was nothing like the comic.
Yeah, yeah.
Kingsman was nothing like the comic. Wanted was nothing like the comic. And here's the biggest problem with Jupiter's Circle is that it was nothing. It also deterred from the comic, and it needed to be more like the comic. It would have been more successful.
Is Jupiter's Circle like a continuation of the legacy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm switching them up. Yeah, Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter's Circle, because that series goes on for like it's like 3 different volumes. Mm-hmm. Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter's Circle, and I think there's one more that follows. But that's one of the reasons why they tapped it, because they were looking. They were like, okay, this is like a series we can get at least 3-4 seasons out of this. Good. And that $200 million they spent, that was for production. I mean, they weren't going to spend that every season.
Yeah.
That's the startup stuff. That's the costumes and all of that type of stuff. And then you just use that stuff again next season. So it would have been cheaper. It would have been cheaper the following season. I don't know how much cheaper. I don't know how much cheaper. So that number I understand. But that cost comes down and there's more profit the more seasons go. But those numbers, even because I'm looking at the views again, and those views must have really tapered off after with time. But the word of mouth was not kind. It was not kind to this series afterwards. I forget who does this. I forget her name, but she does this movie review program, and she gets to interview all these guys. She interviews Millar, she interviews Snyder, and I think she came out and she said, "Oh no, this looks great. Really looking forward to it. You guys are gonna love it." And then she came back to do her review of it, and she's like, "Well, the series came out, and you guys did not love this."
Wow.
You guys did not love this, but I thought a lot of the criticism was fair. You can only beat that drum so long, and they already beat it since what was that, 2012 with Man of Steel. And then you're showing these guys you can't have it both ways. You can't say, "Oh, do we need a code?" And then you are clearly showing throughout the entire thing that you obviously don't need it because you guys are ineffectual with it. Or the only person who seems to be effectual with it was the one guy, the Utopian. He seems to be the only person who's able to do this, and everybody else just seems to be a bunch of half-wits.
Yeah. What's the name? This This Super Crooks is supposed to be anime? Wow.
Well, then he might get somewhere. That's like the next
Oh,
thing they're gonna go for.
well, it says live action. On Wikipedia it says anime, but then it says this is on deadline. Anyway, I mean, it's this is how the thing sort of crumbles. You know, some point you're top of the world and you got all these things lined up. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a full restructure for Netflix, and you're going to be, you know, it don't look like he's going to be. They're going to do this one other thing, but that means everything that's already lined up. Huck was lined up for a film. Empress lined up for a film. Reborn lined up for a film. The Magic Order lined up for a series. Prodigy lined up for a film. Sharky the Bounty Hunter lined up for a film. And Chosen American Jesus lined up for a series. Supercut seems like it's going to be live action now. But, so it's like all that stuff could be, you know,
He
go
might
near the
he
all
might get somewhere with Chosen.
Hmm?
He might get somewhere with Chosen if everybody forgets all the other films that came out already dealing with that stuff. So he might get somewhere with that.
Wait, guys, I got the unfunnies. Can we do the unfunnies? It's an animated. It's a bad. It's a really graphic cartoon. No, we've seen that. Come on, guys. What I got? What I don't want to do. I don't want to do the accent. I know I'm going to have it all. But you know, this guy, I guess at some point, kind of eclipsed his partner slash he was the Robin to Grant Morrison's Batman that Grant Morrison kept dragging around. And the next thing you know, he was doing Adventures of Superman, you know, playing it straight. And then next thing you know, he did, you know, The Authority. And well, actually, he wasn't the initial writer on The Authority, but he kind of gets the accolades for taking the baton and going even further. So
taking the baton and firmly wedging it up somebody's rectum is more like it.
But yeah, they kind of give him the credit for it, and he kind of, from that point, has you know, he immediately did some Marvel stuff and started, you know, in 2004, venturing off into the creator-owned stuff, getting Wanted and Kick-Ass off the ground, and you know, with big success on that. The only thing that seems like didn't work out, which is something called War Heroes with Tony Harris. And it looks like it was a 6-issue miniseries, but only 3 of them were published. So, you know, most of the time, most of the stuff, and there's one point where he was the guy people looked to kind of do a creator-owned book because of the success of Kick-Ass and, you know, Wanted. So it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little too much. They jumped too quick into the thing, and but thankfully they didn't. They got rid of the Mike Mignola stuff. So, you know, I'm not sorry, not Mike Mignola, the Rob Liefeld stuff. They got rid of the Rob Liefeld stuff, which was the grade and all that other stuff. So they don't have to worry about that money anymore. But that would have been the horror shows trying to see those outfits being made, translated into comic into the screen. Sorry, I had that's a very bad mental. But yeah. So it's it'll be interesting to see. He's got enough properties and got enough money rolling in with these with the movies that was already made. So I mean, he's probably not hurting, but this doesn't look as good as it once looked when he was rolling on. You know,
it's a shame. I mean, you look at the you look at the production qualities.
mm-hmm.
You look at the production quality. Uh, you know, the costuming, camera work, cinematography. You know, even the cast. You know, the actors. This should have been something to hit. And you know, the story was just, you know, the story I guess was the last thing they thought about.
Yeah. So if there's we'll see. We have to wait now to see how far they get with the Super Crooks. It's not really the best title, but it might.
Super Crooks? That's what's coming down the pipe.
I believe that's the next thing from
God. Okay. Well, I guess he doesn't want any money. Guess he doesn't want any money. All right.
Yeah, because it's I don't know. it's
Don't do that. If you want to do the whole thing where we want to do the shotgun with we want to do something a pastiche with some irony, then do Wanted. If you really got to go paint by the numbers, low hanging fruit, go do Wanted again. Go do that. You don't want to do that. You want to do Super Crooks instead, okay. But if it doesn't work, remember, I told you so.
I don't know if he can get it back to do it again. You know, I don't know
He doesn't have it.
I mean, once you make that deal, you gotta, you know, they gotta. I don't know if it's bounced. The rights, the movie film rights have bounced back to him to do whatever he wants with that stuff. Because the same with Well, I don't. That's the thing. I don't know on the inside. I just know that they already did the movie, and there's nothing announced to do it as a Netflix series. So
You would want to do like The Authority or something.
That's still not. That's DC's now.
Yeah, but that's where he wants to be. He's like, okay, what could we do? He's like, okay, The Authority. This is gonna be good. Oh, it's Justice League. No, this is Superman and Batman meets Brokeback Mountain. Then they're like, huh? What? Oh yeah. Okay. How much? 500 million? Yeah, here you go.
That is the saddest pitch ever. But yeah, they might go for that. It's a decent name.
They would eat that up with a spoon. They'd be like, yeah, until they see it, but then they'd be horrified.
Yeah, and then they have to have kids watching it, and having a Superman character calling Apollo calling. I forget, was it a Midnighter?
Yeah,
calling Midnighter a queen. I still remember that nonsense. But yeah, I mean, this is what it is. I mean, he got enough things. He already got the money in the bank. The only problem is that they can run your characters into the ground. Whereas as you said, you see some things in Huck, you see some things in Superior. I don't know why. I guess you can't really even trust. Oh, there it is, Superior. Okay, so he did a couple of series with that Francis Liu guy. But yeah, so like these things that you're looking at and saying, you know what, this could work, or American Jesus, something like that, and you're like, or me saying the Magic Order could be something that kind of works in the realm of Netflix. As if the next one gets canceled and this whole thing is restructured, the problem is that the dividends that you're expecting to get don't come through anymore, and then no one else is going to want to buy your properties. And that's the horror of giving the whole kit and caboodle to one person. And I know he kind of used, when he first came out and was doing creator-owned stuff, he kind of, said, all right, I'll go to Dark Horse with The Chosen, I'll go to Unfunnies, I'll go to Avatar Press, go to Wanted, I'll go to Top Cow, Marvel, I guess Kick-Ass was Marvel, I guess, wasn't it? Oh my goodness, yeah. That's crazy. So then Image had War Heroes that didn't do as well. So the big things out of his first run of characters was Kick-Ass and Wanted. So the idea of doing those are all different deals that he made and to make money off of. So, and that's the thing. And that was the mystique of working with Mark Millar, is like, oh, you have this property that could be made into a film. I think John Romita Jr. was involved in some of the stuff. They animated his style into the next movie. So it's this thing of where, and then at some point he was just walking around looking for who I want to work with next. Like, hey, can anyone give me John Byrne's number? See if we can do a project together, that sort of thing. He's just running around, see who's left for me to work with. So it's like, that was a thing that was pretty cool. And Hollywood can take your notoriety and they can crush it. So as you pointed out, that there's other properties that are strong, that is not as cynical as maybe some of this other stuff. And then when you come up and you have another thing that doesn't work, and it's not the next Walking Dead, and it could be a sign for all comic book stuff where people are like, oh, we're not going to throw this money out. And Rob Liefeld's got his brigade and saying, come on, brigade is just being waiting to be made in profit. Profit is just waiting to be made into a movie. It's the next thing. No, it's not, sir. Sorry. So,
Liefeld doesn't care.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That movie could be scat on toast. He was like, look, I know I'm making my money.
Yeah, it's as long as that's the thing. It's I was surprised. There was an episode that me and Mars did on properties I felt they should option in comparison to what they had with Rob Liefeld. And the idea that I was just really, I didn't want to use up properties that couldn't be successful. Maybe if they reorganized profit and whatever it was, because I think it's a total recall type of thing, and maybe not use the outfit that he did, they could do some stuff with it. But you really have to really strip these things down. So I was kind of worried that they would use his thing as the template and it not work out. And then now something I thought that was going to be an easy A for Netflix is something where we have their first, where they publicly said, we're not going forward. And that's a big statement because they haven't really said, they're like even Lost in Space. Lost in Space, they haven't been gangbusters about, but we're getting the third season of it.
This is true.
And thankfully, we're getting the third season. I've enjoyed it. I mean, I haven't watched all of the original series.
This is really bad. This is really bad for Millar. We're talking about Liefeld and Lost in Space.
It's a mark. It's a mark on your. It's a mark on your on your properties. And he's got a lot of creator-owned properties that did pretty decently. So, and you got Kick-Ass that you're looking around and they're still doing Hit Girl and Kick-Ass. Well, more Hit Girl now. So, all right. Good luck on the next thing. Hopefully, Super Crooks hit somewhere it hurts in the pocketbooks, and Netflix decides, hey, this worked out. We're gonna.
And whether it does or not, we'll be here to tell you all about it.
Spinner rack
out.